It was one of the most baffling child disappearances in British history. Yet today, the case has largely faded from public memory. This is the haunting true story of 9-year-old Christine Markham, who turned away from school one morning in 1973 and was never seen again. On Monday, May 21, 1973, 9-year-old Christine Markham left her home on Robinson Road in Scunthorpe and began walking toward school. She was not alone at first. Two of her siblings were with her, and together they made their way toward a bus stop. The siblings boarded a bus that would take them to a different school. From inside that bus, they saw Christine turn around and walk back in the direction from which they had come. That moment became the last solid point in the known timeline. Christine never arrived at Henderson Avenue Junior School, and no one has ever been able to explain why she turned back. Contemporary newspaper coverage later connected the morning sequence to approximately 8:45. One report described the bus stop as roughly 1/4 mile from the family home. Those details came from press coverage of a reconstruction rather than a publicly released police log, so they cannot be treated as exact to the minute. What remains clear is that Christine separated from her siblings during the school journey, changed direction, and then disappeared before reaching her destination. Christine was described in contemporary reports as ginger-haired. Her father reportedly called her a real tomboy, and newspaper coverage identified her as the fifth of 8 children. Beyond those few details, much of her private life has never been fully documented in reliable public sources. There are no verified public accounts of a secret plan, an argument, a meeting, or a reason for avoiding school. Any claim that she deliberately ran away, arranged to see someone, or feared returning to class would go beyond the available evidence. A later reported sighting complicated the timeline. According to accounts repeated in later police and media summaries, a relative may have seen Christine at around 10:30 that morning on Ashby Road, somewhere between Brumby Corner and the Priory Pub. The original witness statement has not been made public, and the sighting was never established as the final confirmed observation of Christine. It remains a reported lead rather than a proven fact. If the girl was Christine, she had traveled away from the route expected to take her to school. If the witness was mistaken, then the bus window observation remained the last reliable sighting. The distinction matters because the two accounts create very different possibilities. The bus sighting places Christine close to the point where she separated from her siblings. The Ashby Road report suggests she remained in public for more than an hour afterward and moved through another part of Scunthorpe. Investigators had to consider both, but the surviving public record does not reveal how strongly police rated the later sighting or what evidence supported it. When Christine failed to reach school and did not return home, concern became an emergency. That night, police and approximately 60 volunteers began searching the area. The operation expanded far beyond the immediate streets around Robinson Road. Later accounts state that around 5,000 homes or properties were searched. Police officers, volunteers, and specialist teams examined a wide area, while investigators collected statements and followed reports from the public. Historic press summaries describe an operation involving dogs, helicopters, and sub-aqua teams. Some reports also refer to approximately 24,000 questionnaires or people questioned. The public figures are not fully consistent. One historic account mentions around 1,400 statements, while later summaries refer to approximately 2,000 witness statements. Those differences may reflect changing totals, different categories, or imperfect reporting. What they show without doubt is the scale of the response. Christine had not vanished quietly from official attention. Her disappearance triggered one of the most extensive searches remembered in the area. Properties near Robinson Road were reportedly examined in extraordinary detail. Contemporary coverage said that searches included attics and spaces beneath floorboards. Water, open land, roads, and buildings were checked as the investigation widened. Despite that effort, no publicly documented recovery of Christine, her remains, or a personal possession resolved the case. The search produced information in enormous volume, but no confirmed trail leading to a location, an offender, or a clear explanation. The lack of a known crime scene created a problem that would become more serious as the decades passed. Investigators could preserve statements, compare names, review routes, and reconsider suspicious people, but forensic science depends on physical material. Without a confirmed scene, there was no publicly identified source of blood, hair, fibers, fingerprints, or biological evidence that could later be tested against a suspect. The case also drew comparisons with other missing children. Contemporary reporting indicated that investigators communicated with Norfolk detectives who still had an open file on the disappearance of April Fabb, a 13-year-old who vanished in 1969. Police did not publicly establish a connection between the two cases. The comparison shows that detectives were already looking beyond Scunthorpe for patterns, even during the early stages of the investigation. Years passed, but Christine's file did not disappear. New offenders, new technology, and new information repeatedly caused detectives to look again at old evidence. One of the most prominent names to enter the case was Robert Black, a convicted child murderer whose crimes involved the abduction of young girls. In May 1994, The Independent reported that Black was expected to be questioned about Christine's disappearance as police examined a number of unresolved cases. Black's known crimes made him a natural subject for review. He traveled extensively for work, used vehicles, and offended across wide geographic areas. Those facts created investigative interest, but they did not prove involvement in Christine's disappearance. Publicly available sources do not establish that Black was in Scunthorpe on the morning Christine vanished. They do not reveal a witness who saw him with her, a vehicle connected to the route, or forensic evidence linking him to the case. Later writers and media reports sometimes described Black in stronger terms, but the public record supports a narrower conclusion. He was a convicted offender whose possible connection was examined. No charge was brought against him in Christine's case, and no publicly disclosed evidence established that he abducted her. Black died without being convicted of any crime against Christine Markham. Another possible suspect emerged through a very different investigation. In 2002, DNA evidence linked Joseph Cappan after his death to the murders of 3 teenage girls in Wales during 1973. The discovery led other police forces to reconsider unresolved cases from the same period, including Christine's disappearance. Humberside police reviewed whether Cappan could have had a connection to Scunthorpe. Reports stated that he may have lived in the Gainsborough area and worked as a contract lorry driver in Scunthorpe during August and September of 1973. Those dates came several months after Christine vanished in May. The available reporting does not place Cappan in Scunthorpe on the day she disappeared. Police also acknowledged differences between the Welsh murders and Christine's case. Cappan's identified victims were older than Christine, and the circumstances were not the same. Investigators had DNA from the Welsh crime scenes, but Christine's disappearance had produced no known scene from which comparable evidence could be recovered. Officers could examine employment, travel, geography, and opportunity, but they could not make the kind of direct biological comparison that identified Cappan in Wales. The Cappan Review produced no publicly announced breakthrough. No witness, physical evidence, or documented travel record has been released connecting him to Christine. Like the examination of Robert Black, it remained a serious investigative inquiry rather than proof of guilt. In May 2006, the case entered another major review. Humberside Police announced that the major investigation team, led by Detective Superintendent Colin Andrews, was re-examining the disappearance. Paper records were transferred into Holmes, the computer system used for managing major investigations. Retired officers who had worked on the original inquiry were consulted, allowing current detectives to compare old memories with the surviving file. Police also obtained DNA from members of Christine's family. That DNA was not evidence against a suspect. Its purpose was identification. If unidentified human remains were found in the future, investigators would have a reference profile that could help determine whether they belonged to Christine. That step reflected a painful reality. Detectives were preserving the ability to identify her, even without knowing where she was. The transfer into Holmes offered investigators a way to organize thousands of statements, names, locations, vehicles, and reports collected over the years. Information that had once existed across paper files could be searched and cross-referenced more efficiently. Old inconsistencies could be found. Names appearing in separate statements could be linked. Routes and timelines could be compared. Technology could strengthen the review, but it could not create evidence that had never been found. Later that year, another development briefly returned the case to public attention. In October 2006, police appealed for the writer of an anonymous note to come forward. Reports said the note contained information that might help the investigation. The exact wording was not released, and police did not publicly identify the author, explain how the note had been delivered, or reveal what happened after the appeal. The limited disclosure prevents any honest conclusion about the note's value. It may have contained first-hand knowledge, a rumor, a misunderstanding, or information already known to police. None of those possibilities can be claimed as fact. The only verified point is that detectives considered the message significant enough to ask publicly for its writer. Christine's disappearance has remained open across generations of investigators. Later statements from Humberside Police described the case as an ongoing investigation. The force has continued to treat Christine as a missing person, while also acknowledging the tragic likelihood that she may have died. No one has been charged with abducting or killing her. The surviving facts leave a narrow but disturbing timeline. Christine left home for school. Her siblings saw her turn back. A later sighting may have placed her on Ashby Road, but that report has never been publicly confirmed. A huge search followed, thousands of homes were checked, and investigators gathered an extraordinary amount of information. Decades later, convicted offenders were examined, files were digitized, retired officers were consulted, and family DNA was preserved. None of those efforts revealed what caused a 9-year-old girl to disappear during an ordinary Monday morning. The unanswered question is no longer only who may have taken Christine. It begins earlier with the decision witnessed from the bus. Something caused her to change direction. That reason may have been harmless at first, or it may have placed her directly in danger. The public record offers no verified answer. More than half a century later, the case still depends on information that may never have reached police or on evidence buried somewhere within thousands of old statements. Someone may have noticed a vehicle, seen a child walking alone, heard a remark, or remembered a person returning unexpectedly that morning. A detail dismissed in 1973 could carry a different meaning today. Christine Markham did not become a mystery because nobody looked for her. Police, volunteers, relatives, witnesses, and later cold case teams all searched for answers. She became a mystery because an enormous investigation never found the one fact capable of explaining where she went after she turned away from school. Until that fact is found, Christine remains 9 years old in the public record, last seen changing direction on a morning that never delivered her home.